are now listening to the Fantasy Standard Podcast on Talkdown TV with P and Ryan.
Welcome to the Fantasy Standard Podcast on Talkdown TV. This is P alongside Ryan. If you're watching, it means you're on YouTube, and we kindly ask that you drop a like and hit that subscribe button. If you're listening, it means you're on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Audio Boom, and all other podcast platforms. We also kindly ask that you hit that subscribe button and leave a review.
What up?
What's up, yo? So we did pretty good for ourselves picking these games, huh?
Last week?
Yeah, I don't know what it is. I think that since the NFL is now settling into like the teams showing us their true identities, that we can pretty much scrap what we've seen in the first 2 weeks.
Yeah. All those Fugazis and all those overachieving teams are starting to like level out. I mean, we did have a pretty good week last week.
It was good for fantasy. It was fun, right? But I think we pretty much said it on the show that at some point that was just preseason, right? And these teams were going to get their legs under them. A lot of people were probably out of shape, football shape, which is even crazier. You being a trainer, you already know what that.
Yeah, it takes. I mean, a lot of these guys were probably working out consistently, but it's not the same when you're playing in a game. That's different.
Yeah,
you can only practice so much to be in a game.
But you just want to get right into this recap for basically how we did last week. So we did okay, right? Like I think we've been hanging in there 3 games within 500, so 9-5 each.
Yeah,
our season record is at 60-31-1 and 61-30-1. So we're still doing well. I think we're 30 games over 500 right now.
Yeah.
I mean,
31. That's pretty damn good.
That's not bad at all. Hopefully we do better next week. This time we're gonna go undefeated this week. Well, maybe not both of us because we got different picks on some, but
the only thing I want to mention before we jump into the games, we did both pick Philly because we are recording this after the Thursday game.
Yes.
We made sure we picked it. What do you think about the game? And just really quick recap.
It's a shame that Carson Wentz doesn't have an offensive line that can keep him upright because he has weapons. I know that he's down to Fulgham, which is his 4th receiver. But if there's anyone that makes the most out of nothing is Carson Wentz, and he doesn't get any love for it. He gets a lot of flack when he's losing, though.
Yeah. I think they're starting to come into their own as a team. Like, it took them 6 weeks, but I mean, they're getting there. And then the Giants, man, just falling apart and losing that game where they had it in.
Didn't it feel like at some point the Giants were just gonna find a way to lose that game?
I wasn't even worried. Knowing that we had picked the Eagles, I'm like, the Eagles are gonna come back and win this game.
Yeah. You just knew the way Carson was looking at the end too, especially. And Boston Scott, I mean, if you had him in your lineup, you love what you saw because he filled in admirably for Miles Sanders. Okay, maybe the running wasn't quite the same. Maybe Miles could fight for a little extra yards, break some tackles, and extend a play. But Boston Scott gives you the same in terms of catching the ball.
Yeah, production value was there.
You don't lose much. And Carson, you can tell he wanted to get him the ball
involved. Yeah.
I like that. So what did you see?
I know you had started Richard Rodgers. He definitely came through.
Yeah, man.
They had a tight end that looked like he was alive. So that was really good to see. Fulgham still looks really good, man. He's a really good receiver. I hope he doesn't get thrown out of the mix. They keep trying to bring all these guys back, and Deshaun Jackson got hurt again. So that's unfortunate. The Eagles defense still can't cover nobody.
I mean, Darius Slay facing Darius Slayton.
Yeah.
He kind of blanketed him. I think he got 2 catches that game.
Yeah, it wasn't that bad, but I mean these other guys, holy crap.
Pretty bad.
Defensive penalties after defensive penalties. It's just like they're not even trying.
Yeah, the linebackers are pretty bad in coverage too.
I mean, all that said,
that Eagles defensive line is still as good as any in the league, though.
Facts.
So that's what's keeping them really competitive in these games. Because even the Pittsburgh game, you didn't think Pittsburgh that the Eagles are going to be anywhere near.
And the Ravens.
Yeah, and they put a really good fight.
Yeah, no, I agree. I
Yeah.
agree.
So,
I mean, in that division that nobody's trying to win, the Eagles still have a chance.
yeah, yeah. Let's go to our first game, I guess, right? And this is a division matchup, and it is between the Cleveland Browns and the Cincinnati Bengals.
Yeah, for me, this is the second time they faced each other this year, so we kind of get a understanding of what it was week one. The Cleveland Browns are favored by 3.5 in this game. The over under is 50.5. Is there anybody you're looking at specifically here, or what?
Obviously, with Cleveland, you always say, "Well, what is Kareem Hunt going to do this week?" Right? That's because that's the offense goes as he goes. I don't think they had a good game last week. Not many people do
Yeah,
against but I do like Dearness Johnson again this week. I do like them to get that because that's the only way Cleveland's going to win. Honestly, right now Baker Mayfield is a game manager, and if he's put in any position to have to win, it's not going to be good.
no, I agree. To add to your Hunt point, if we remember the first matchup, him and Chubb was healthy at that time. They both scored over 20 fantasy points. They ran all over Cincinnati, who couldn't seem to tackle anybody that day, that Thursday night football game. On the other side of the ball, on Cincinnati, I definitely do like Green, Boyd, and Higgins all this week against Cleveland.
Yeah,
We said it last week. Who did Cleveland play again last week?
Cleveland played Pittsburgh last week. They were blown out.
And look, they didn't have to do much on the passing game. They didn't have to do much in that whole game, but the receivers were catching good passes. I talked about it last time too, that they can't really cover receivers that well, as much as people are scared of their cornerbacks. So I'm looking at all three of those guys to come through and be productive. I can't tell you who. I feel like Cincinnati Bengals are just like the Cowboys. So many good receivers. It's hard to predict who's going to be that one that week.
Yeah, that's true. The big one is no Mixon for this game. So who's going to step up? Is it going to be Williams? Is it going to be a good old reliable Geo? What are you going to do?
Yeah.
That's a big, to me, that's a big piece because with Joe Mixon on the field, at least you have to keep your defense honest, right? Like at least you can't really sell out for the pass. You have to really focus on the running back like a Joe Mixon and not having him in the backfield. I think that's going to affect him a little more. That's why me personally, I'm going to go ahead and make my pick. I'll pick Cleveland in this game.
Yeah, I'm taking Cleveland too. Gio always seems to come through in these games when he does become the starter. So I'm expecting him to be productive. It's just how productive can he be against this defensive line that seems to swallow everything up. So
yeah, that's true. One thing to note, and is this a story or is it not a story? AJ Green had a resurgence somewhat last week. 11 targets, 8 catches, 96 yards. Is that like you said? Is that now giving them that third piece, that T Higgins, AJ Green, and our boy Tyler Boyd? Like, is that giving them that 3 wide receiver firm threat that the Cowboys have, or is AJ Green, was that an aberration for one game?
Or maybe he's just trying out for other teams. So maybe the Bengals are trying to make him look good so then they can sell him.
I don't think about that as much. I keep forgetting that he is being mentioned in trade rumors, right?
But maybe they're trying to feed him, plump him up a little bit so they can sell him higher than he actually is.
True. All right.
I've been hearing a lot of him talking about the Patriots possibly getting him.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah. But
I'm taking Cleveland as well too.
Yeah.
I'm not. They're just gonna run all over Cincinnati like they did last time.
Yeah. The next game is another division game, and we have the Dallas Cowboys facing the Washington football team. This is Andy Dalton against Kyle Allen. This is exactly how we drew it up.
Yeah, going into this, we got Dallas favored by 1, which is pretty much a pick 'em.
Yeah.
And then the over-under is 44.5. Man, we look at this division, man. Describe this division in one word. How would you do that?
Below 500.
Man, this is a measly division. Look, nobody's trying to win this division right now. May the best man win at the end.
Yeah. No one's trying to win.
What are you looking at fantasy-wise?
No one's trying to win it, and everyone's trying to lose it.
Yeah.
That's exactly what's happening. In this matchup, I have a few people that I am looking at, right? Like in Dallas, for instance, they're all packaged into one. So they go as, what I'm gonna say, Andy Dalton goes. To me, you need two things if you're Dallas. You need number one, you need Zeke back on track.
Yeah, not fumbling.
Yeah, 2 fumbles last game. That's not normal Zeke, so you're not too worried about that. Although he almost had a 3rd fumble, and you saw it was in his head.
Yeah, now he has fumbled a lot this year, though. He's had trouble with fumbling the football.
So that does happen to running backs where they have that time frame in their careers where they just it's in their head, it's psychological, and they just need to feed him, and he needs to get out of it because they need him right now. The offense and the team cannot be on Andy Dalton's shoulders, and he proved it. You can't have a talented offense like that and put up a performance like that against the Giants if you think that you're a playoff contender.
No, I agree.
But you need those. You need a clean Andy Dalton game, and you need Zeke back. Those are the 2 things you need if you want Dallas to win this game.
Yeah, what I'm looking at, look, every time the Cowboys play, what are we looking at? The receivers that are going against them, because they cannot stop anybody. McLaurin is just going to keep it going. I think he's going to go off. We saw Kirk last week go off. It doesn't take much to go off against the Cowboys. And then on the other side, Washington has been really good against the receivers. So Cooper, Gallup, and Lamb, I'm expecting them to be kept in check, not only because Washington is good against the receivers, but because Andy Dalton's on the ball. So, I mean, you can't expect much. And, I mean, hopefully Andy Dalton can come out and not look so shook up back there, because Arizona had him looking crazy.
Let me tell you something. If Arizona had him looking crazy without their best pass rusher.
Yeah, I know. I was just thinking, I knew where you were going when you said that.
Let me tell you something. And Dallas is down to what? Like they're down 3 starting offensive linemen. I think
they're a rough one.
Yeah, this isn't going to be easy, man. I mean, you take away 1 first rounder on the Washington football team, it's like 4 growing in his place. Like that's how stout that front is. So me, you know me, I always look at the trenches, right? That's what we look when it's a toss up. Who has the better front, defensively and offensively, and right now, Washington's offensive line is pretty good compared to Dallas's 3rd stringers.
Yeah.
And I'll take that defensive line over Dallas's. You can keep Aldon Smith and all that stuff. So I'm gonna give the edge to I almost picked Dallas, but I'm gonna go ahead and give the edge to the Washington football team.
Yeah, for me too. I'm picking Washington, and if they can find a way to stop Zeke and keep him from hurting them on the ground, I don't see how they can lose to Andy Dalton. Yeah. Zeke has yet to go over 100 yards this year. He's getting the volume. He's fumbling.
And can we give some love
in the last 4 weeks? So
can we give some love to your boy on Washington football team? One of the best cornerbacks that no one's talking about.
Yeah, Fuller. Well, I was so glad that they brought him back this year, especially after he succeeded with the Kansas City Chiefs and he won a Super Bowl last year. He's killing it this year. He's been, I mean, probably the best besides our defensive line. The best pieces on our defense.
Yeah.
On that defense. I'm a Washington fan, so that's why I keep saying our.
Yeah, and a big thing here, then why I feel like Washington will be able to control the game. Dallas secondary is terrible. Dallas scoring defense is terrible, but I think this one right here is the one I feel that Washington's going to exploit the most. So fire up Gibson, fire up McKissick. Dallas second worst in rushing yards per game defensively at 173 yards per game. Rushing.
I like that. All right, cool. Let's move on to this next one.
The next one is Detroit Lions facing the Atlanta Falcons, which let me just stop real quick and say I'll never pick Atlanta Falcons again.
Yeah, I mean, we didn't pick them last week, and they finally got their first win of the year. They got Atlanta favored by 2 points, which I don't understand that, and they got the over-under at 55.
That's good. I like that number.
Yeah, I do too. I think they have Atlanta favored. This is pretty much a pick 'em. I think they got them favored because 1, they're home, and 2, they just won last week.
Yeah.
I guess they're thinking the new coaching.
Oh, okay. So does that say something about the new coaching staff, or does that say more about what they think of Matt Patricia?
I don't know, man. I don't know. They made the Vikings look not good last week. So I don't know if they I don't know if they figure something out, but man, look, they still can't stop the pass. I don't care how good you are, you still can't stop the pass. And this week, you're not playing, what you call it, Kirk Cousins. You're playing Matthew Stafford.
Yeah.
So and Kirk Cousins still had a good game. It's just it was too late. It
Yeah.
was too late, and Atlanta already had a big lead then. So I'm expecting big day from Stafford. We always go quarterbacks against Atlanta, and with that being said, you expect Galladay to come on and go off. Every receiver that plays Atlanta, at least number ones, usually have a big game. Look, Atlanta has a chance to win this game. I'm not gonna sit here and say they don't. They're obviously their favorite, so Vegas thinks that as well. But the only way they're gonna win that is Matt Ryan has to realize that he's not a rookie or he's not young anymore. He's not going to be slinging it.
Or maybe even the offensive coordinator needs to realize that.
Yeah, and I think that's what happened last game too. They were running the ball a lot more. Gurley, remember how I was mentioning it? He might have had like 15 carries in the first half.
They look
and against Detroit's rushing defense, who's one of the worst, I can see this being like a Gurley game where if they get him started early and they can get a lead and they can run, they can do that. But again, I don't trust their defense, and I believe in Stafford and the passing. I just hope Patricia comes out and realizes you can't just come out and run the ball only against this team. Yeah. You have to throw it too.
Deion Jones has made it tough if there's one thing that Atlanta does well, it's stop the run. So because it like a guy like a Deion Jones, but there's not much they do well on defense, like you said. I see that maybe Detroit really liked what they did last week against Jacksonville, right? Maybe running the ball might help that quarterback of yours, and running the ball will in tune open up your play action, which Stafford when he's ever had a running game, Stafford's unguardable.
Yeah, and he hasn't had many running games.
Yeah, so I think he was. You notice Swift at the end of the last game was getting the ball a lot. So you like that AP Swift combo. You feel like they both can get the ball and they both can control the run game.
Yeah.
So I look for that. I look for that, and I look for a Kenny Galladay statement game also. I look for Kenny Galladay to run crazy in this one.
Yeah, I'm taking Detroit here. I just believe in that talent more than I do in Atlanta's talent. And I'm expecting, like I said, Kenny Galladay has had 100 yards or a touchdown in every game he's been back since he was hurt, coming off that injury, and I don't see it stopping this week.
And this is irregardless of the coaches, because I'm not fond of either of the. I mean, the guy from Minnesota, what's his name? Schwartz? Not Schwartz. But I like him. I like him as a defensive coordinator and a defensive-minded coach. I've never really cared much for his overall, like the way he handles a team. But Minnesota's a good team. Not this year. And so let's move on to the next game, because I think we both have Detroit. The next game is another division bout, and that is the Carolina Panthers facing the New Orleans Saints.
Yeah, they got the Saints favored by 7 with an over-under of 50.5. This is the first time Teddy Bridgewater gets to go back and face the Saints.
Yeah.
Do the Saints know something about Teddy that they can use against them?
Or vice versa.
Yeah. And maybe he can exploit helping the defensive coordinator set up ways to stop that offense, right?
Yeah. There was a COVID scare in this game. Yeah. Emmanuel Sanders is out. Michael Thomas is out, but that's not a COVID situation. It was an aggravation of another injury on top of like the hamstring injury he had. Carolina pass defense, I had that written down here, 6.1 yards per attempt. That is pretty damn good. So that almost guarantees that Drew Brees is gonna check it down. So a lot of Kamara. I don't even think Cook, to be honest. I think Cook for a tight end runs a lot of deep routes. So I don't even think it'll have enough time. There's a name out there that I'm looking at, and I know a lot of people are probably looking at Traquan Smith, and you're wrong. Although he's probably going to be okay. I looked at Marquez Callaway and the routes that he ran, the amount of routes he ran. I think he led the team last week. DFS, I'm almost 100% certain that you need to make room for him, and he's gonna make a lot of room for you to make
salary wise.
Yeah, he's gonna give you a lot of freedom to really pack your lineup. Marquez Callaway, I'd keep my eye on him.
Yeah. Now, just to finish this up before we make our pick, we always say this every week when you play Carolina. They're so bad against the run that these quarterbacks aren't really needed against them. So I'm not expecting Breeze to do much this week, especially with both of his starting receivers missing, or not needed to do as much. Not that he can't. I mean, he can't as much as he used to, but we know what we're saying. But I expect Kamara to get those little short dump offs from Breeze and take him 70 yards like he usually does. And then Latavius Murray is somebody I'm looking at a lot this week. He looks like he's been getting into the fold a lot more before the bye week. They were running him a lot more in the red zone, maybe to give Kamara a break and not get beat up as much. They're using him like I thought they were going to use him last year when they first signed him, almost like a split backfield. So we'll see, man.
Yeah, like Ingram.
Yeah, exactly. Back into that Ingram role, and Carolina's not really good against stopping the run. So
right, yeah, they do have that young linebacker Burns. I can't wait to see what he's going to turn into.
Yeah,
he's really good, man. They have a lot of talent on Carolina that at any moment can overachieve. Maybe a game like this they'll overachieve, but for the most part, they're young, they're banged up. The games like this, they're not going to be able to keep up with someone like Breeze for 4 quarters.
Yeah, I agree. We're both taking New Orleans here.
Yeah, man. The next game is another division bout between
a lot of division games this week.
Between 2 Titans. I think we'll take about 1 minute on this game. So the Buffalo Bills are going to Jersey to face the Jets. What you got?
We got Buffalo favored by 10.5, which is the biggest of the week, and the over/under is at 46. So, I mean, this is the second time they're playing each other this year, right?
Yeah. I'm gonna tell you
what Buffalo did week 1. Go ahead.
I have it written here. Classic trap game for the Bills. A game that you expect the Bills to win, right? After losing 2 straight against tough opponents. So now, okay, this is where the Bills should get healthy, right? But the first time the Jets have had Darnold, Mims, Perriman, Crowder, Herndon, all on the field at the same time.
And Frank Gore. No, yeah, that's good. It's good to see what. I mean, we see splashes with Darnold, and we think he's a decent quarterback, but I mean, it has to come full circle eventually. On the Bills side, I'm starting Allen, I'm starting Diggs, I'm starting Singletary. I'm not getting cute. With a spread like this, you expect them to be up majority of the game. So I see Allen pushing it early, and then maybe Singletary trying to control the game the rest of that. And then Crowder, man, he's been just coming through the last couple of weeks.
If you have Crowder in PPR, you're right again. Right? Like you're right yet again, because
we always think he's not going to do nothing.
Yeah,
he's that guy. He's like a pesky guy that we're like, no, not Crowder again. I'm not taking this guy.
He's basically what Wes Welker was all those years.
Yeah, and I was going to say he's like a Julian Edelman type of receiver.
Milano for the Bills, that changes how that defense plays. If Milano plays, he hasn't played the last few weeks, and you've seen the difference, especially run defense, not setting the edge. Milano is great at that, and they've struggled. The Bills, COVID has taken away 4 of their tight ends. So
I mentioned that.
Ryan, you might get a call to play tight end for the Bills tomorrow. Warm up. That's something big. Who's gonna play tight end? Because maybe Gabe Davis. I will say that I've seen, me, I'm picking up Gabe Davis every week. What I did see last week that I really liked is that when they motioned him at one point, they motioned him into the tight end position, and they used him as a blocker like the tight end would.
Like the edge, yeah.
Yes.
The edge.
That's different. That's not something you would do with a receiver.
Yeah, they should just put tight end.
So Gabe Davis, that's my dark horse to play that tight end position as an excuse for the Bills to run 4 wide receiver sets, which they do more than anyone in the league already.
Yeah. Cool.
I got the Bills. I just really caution the blowout here. I don't know if it's going to be a blowout. And if it is, it'll be one of those last minute turnovers where the Bills make
it a 2-score game. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah. I'm taking Buffalo too, and I'm not thinking too much about it.
And Josh, we don't need hero ball on this one. We need the good Josh.
Facts.
Yeah. So the next game is the Green Bay Packers and the Houston Texans are facing each other.
Yeah, we got Green Bay favored by 3.5 right now with an over-under of 57, which is one of the highest of the weeks. We obviously have news of Aaron Jones having a mild calf strain, so he's looking like he's not a go this week. So, I mean, he was in a prime spot to destroy this Houston team after we've seen literally every single running back destroy them. So whoever's in the backfield, whether it's Williams, Dillon, I would start both in fantasy leagues. DFS, they're going to be cheaper plays that you can put in. Amazing starts this week.
Yeah, they're in smash spots.
Is this the Aaron? I mean, and I heard Aaron Rodgers talk this week, so I'm not expecting him it was just a bad game. Like it was a tough matchup. But is this a game where he comes out and he has to try to prove something, not only to the people but to himself? Because you know how Aaron is.
You know what I think that's gonna happen, and this is a possible narrative, right? This is my narrative possibility. This is what I'm gonna give you that I think, right? Everybody probably thinks differently, but what I think is that LaFleur and A-Rod are gonna say, you know what? Let's play the cleanest football that we can possibly play after losing a game like that last week. So clean doesn't mean let's put it up 30 times.
Yeah.
Let's play clean football. 20, 25 pass attempts, A-Rod, 30 max, all clean, efficient. No, I would say completion percentage 75% and above. You know, like one of those games for A-Rod where
passer ratings.
Yeah, where he has his 3 touchdowns, but he really only had like 20 attempts.
Yeah. And
That's
they ran
the
the ball
game.
30 total times with both
Exactly.
guys.
That's the game I see for A-Rod in here.
What do you see on the Houston side? What I'm looking at right now is since Green Bay is so good at stopping, with their pass rush, is Houston going to try to run the ball more to try to neutralize that pass rush? And they are giving up a lot of points to the running back. So in a sneaky spot, I can see David Johnson coming through in a really good game and them feeding them a lot more.
I could see that. I could see Johnson getting more touches, but his value is sorely on his ability to get whether or not he can't get in the end zone.
Yeah,
Because he doesn't look good with the ball. He doesn't look elusive. He doesn't look fast.
He's just a body that gets carries.
Yeah, and that's what he's been benefiting from because he almost had a second touchdown last week. But he didn't make it. You know, one thing about Houston, and you really love the fact that Watson is a warrior, because this team would be nowhere near as competitive as it is without him. Unfortunately, they're going to face a stingy defense. Jair Alexander lives on the other side. You don't like that at all. The one thing I will say is that whichever Texans receiver plays in the slot, that's the person to keep an eye on. That's the person that I feel will key eye on. So you have 2 people that'll play in the slot. You got the tight end, Fells, and you also have
Randall Cobb.
Either Cobb or Cooks, who you've seen Cooks play in the slot more this year, but he's not traditionally a slot guy. But you got Cooks and you have Fells. Those are 2 names that you heard here, and Randall Cobb.
So are we tempering expectations for Will Fuller this week? We saw what Jair did last week.
If
Mike Evans,
if 23 is following Fuller around in the field, it just I wouldn't even want anything more than 40 yards.
Yeah, if you get 40, you're not upset at that.
Yeah, you're not.
Cool. I think we're both going Green Bay here.
Yeah, no, I mean, all that being said, I hope we don't take Houston after everything we said about Green Bay.
I expect Green Bay to come out and try to make a point and show people like, yo, y'all need to relax. Like what like Aaron Rodgers said a couple of years ago, relax.
Yeah, relax. And Aaron Jones, smart move by a smart coach.
Yeah.
You don't need him right now.
Yeah, they're very conservative.
It'd be nice for like a fantasy owner, obviously, because you know he's going to score this week. But it's fine. You need him for the fantasy playoffs anyway. You imagine he plays now and then he's not available for you.
And he's out for a whole month. Yeah, he can sit now and
let's rest that out this week. Yeah, and then it's almost like a bye for you with him. You know what I mean? Like, the next game is Pittsburgh facing Tennessee. This is one of my favorite matchups of the week.
I was just gonna say that's probably my favorite game of the week. We got Tennessee favored by 1.5, over under of 50.5. It is in Tennessee. Man, we keep talking about Pittsburgh's just defense overall. They've been dominant throughout this whole year, but they haven't had to face an offense that is as dominant as Tennessee is.
I'm glad
they're running into Derrick Henry, or Derrick Henry is going to be running into these guys.
Mm-hmm.
Is he matchup proof, or is this a tough matchup? What are you thinking?
I think Henry is as close to matchup proof as any running back in the league.
Yeah.
I don't like using that for anyone, right? But I think he's one guy that you would use matchup proof. A guy like Cooks from Minnesota. That's another guy.
Yeah.
He's matchup proof because he gets used so much that it's almost impossible for him to not be valuable.
Yeah, Darren Cook. You got me saying Darren Dalvin Cook. Derrick Henry so far this year has over 19 carries in every single game.
Mm-hmm.
The last 3 games he's been on a tear with double-digit touchdowns. In the last 3, he finally got involved in the passing game last week. This is what I always say about Tennessee, which they did. I wish they did more of, and not only because I have Derrick Henry, because I just feel like he's very successful when he gets a lane to run. Why not give him the ball in space where he can get a head start? And imagine trying to tackle Derrick Henry when he has a head start.
That's a good point. I feel like every time we look at a screen pass to Henry, it's to
Takes
the
it like 50 yards. Yeah.
always to the
And
house.
and they try to do it. I've seen it a couple times, but it's just like too much.
It doesn't develop right.
Yeah. So I wish that whoever's coming up with these plays can figure out a way where they can just get him more involved easier.
I think the big storyline here that affects that affects the impervious Henry, which he's been right. He's been the king pretty much. Is Taylor Lewan ACL? That's big.
Yeah, done for the year. So
Any way you swing it, man, that's big. You lose your left tackle.
when you lose your left tackle, it's hard to recover.
But it seems like the Titans are one of those teams that have great scouts on the line. So I think they'll be okay. And they play action so much, they're not going to put any offensive lineman on an island by themselves, right? So it seems like they're always moving the pocket. They're always like keeping you guessing what they're doing. So that offense is predicated on Ryan Tannehill and his ability to just keep it going. Because right now he should be in the MVP combo.
Facts. And just before we get into the Pittsburgh side real quick, I was telling you earlier that the reason I love Tennessee so much against Pittsburgh is because Pittsburgh's pass rush is so good, but it's going to be neutralized so much with Derrick Henry running the ball and that play action. So it's going to be hard they're going to be almost like staying back and not so hesitant to, unless Tennessee goes down early, but to pass rush because they're going to have to either have to tackle Derrick Henry or there's going to be a play action. So, for me, it's like, is Big Ben going to come out? And Tennessee's been giving up a lot of points to quarterbacks recently.
I'm looking at it, man. You like wide receivers do well, quarterbacks do well. It's like, Chase Claypool, you can lock it in.
Yeah. I mean, even with those other guys coming back, you think Claypool's automatic?
No, lock it in. He's Big Ben's guy.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter who's out there. The other guys, they're just fill-ins. It's Claypool and Ben. He found them.
Yeah.
When you got a piece, and you said it a long time ago. You said, yo, Claypool, watch when Ben learns how to use Claypool. You said that. You said it. I wish I would have recorded it every single time.
He's literally, the moment I heard he has the metrics of Megatron, I was like, man, if this guy can just get opportunity, he's gonna take off. And I mean, he's been getting them. I wish he had more clear path to targets and he didn't have to fight for them. But I think the coordinators in that team are starting to realize that, we got to keep this kid on the field. And
this is
Juju and Deontay, they're gonna have to earn all their targets now.
These are some high-scoring teams, man. Tennessee 42 points last 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Pittsburgh 38 points last 2 weeks.
Shootout potential?
Huh?
Shootout potential.
I mean, I don't know. I don't know if I think Pittsburgh's defense is the real deal, man.
Yeah.
But there's a team that put up 29 points against Pittsburgh, and that's Philly. And I mean, Tennessee, you can see them having a better offense than Philly, right?
Yeah.
So something there to consider. I do think that the difference here would be the defense, and that's why I'm picking Pittsburgh. I feel like Pittsburgh's defense is just that much better but other than that, the matchup to me is a draw. Like Big Ben and Tannehill at this point of his career to me is a draw. Running backs draw. Like I love Connor just like I love Henry. Claypool and AJ Brown, I pretty much like them the same.
Only reason I'm taking Tennessee is for what I mentioned earlier. As great as I know Pittsburgh defense is, I feel like they're not gonna have a classic Pittsburgh game where they can bully the quarterback because they're not gonna have clear paths because they're gonna be running the ball consistently and the play action is gonna be hard to stop. So it's gonna be a really close game. That's why we pretty much have it as a pick 'em, so it can go either way.
This is fun. This is gonna be a fun one.
Yeah.
That might be the matchup of the week.
Yeah, I agree.
The next game, somewhat COVID implications, but today we hear that the Las Vegas entire offensive line, except for one player, they have all cleared, so they're able to play. Abram, though, that's a big piece. I think they lost him. He's still on the COVID list.
I feel like he gets hurt every freaking week.
Yeah, and he's hurt every week. I don't feel like they have him. The Tampa Bay run defense is still super elite. They played the best and they've stopped the best. So, Jacobs, honestly, you hope that maybe a pass interference and a few handoffs on the goal line, which is what I'm hoping for. But you only start him for sheer volume, not because you feel like this is he can exploit a matchup.
Yeah, and I agree. They got Tampa Bay favored by 4.5, which I mean they've been bullying people, and they got this over under at 52.5, which is a lot of points. There's two things that I'm looking at in this game. On the Tampa Bay side, this boy Ronald Jones has been cooking the last couple of weeks.
Oh my God, Las Vegas run defense.
Yeah, and the Raiders' run defense is one of the worst in the NFL. So I can see, again, I think Tampa Bay's play style caters to handing the ball off and playing defense. I think that's what they want to do. And they're going to keep doing it against the Raiders this week because obviously they can't stop the run. But on the other side of the ball, I'm looking, can Carr do what nobody else has done against Tampa Bay, and that's have a good game? I feel like they seem to just bury the quarterbacks that they play with that defensive line and those linebackers and that corner, that pass defense. So it's like, where are, besides, maybe, like you said, them getting pass interference and Jacobs getting goal line touches, how are they going to score?
You hope that Ruggs makes a difference because he changes the dynamic of that offense. Because he makes Waller more effective, right? Like if you do combinations with Ruggs and Waller, then you have something there, right? But who else is on the outside? Renfro's on the inside, right? Like, is Brian Edwards gonna play? Or what's the story there? Aguilar has looked good, but Aguilar is a slot guy, right? Who is the outside guy in Las Vegas?
Yeah, because it's gonna be tough. It's gonna be a good game to watch too. But again, I'm taking Tampa Bay. I feel like they're hitting all gears right now, and they're looking like they're ready to start going on a playoff run.
Yeah,
with the way that team's been playing. So I'm taking Tampa Bay here, and I'm not.
Yeah, same. We're both going with Tampa here.
Cool.
Next game is San Francisco and New England. The Mostert's out, so you got obviously the injury thing. New England's coming off a loss to Denver, which is surprising. San Fran probably the defense will look the best they've looked all year last week. What's the line here?
So we got San Francisco favored by 3, and the over under at 44.5, which is one of the lower ends of the week. For me, look, we got two different teams coming into this game. We got San Francisco bouncing back after looking like they might not make the playoffs this year because they were dealing with so many injuries, and then we got New England, who started out high. And then Cam gets COVID, and now they lose to Denver last week. And we're still struggling to find out how they're actually going to score points every single week. Because, I mean, when Cam isn't going, the offense isn't going.
Yeah.
But this week, we got Damian Harris starting with Sonny Michel on COVID list still. How do you feel with him against San Francisco? We saw Darrell Henderson last week look pretty good against the San Francisco run defense, which is beaten up. Can Damian Harris be trusted this week?
I think that there's a big piece of linebacker that's not playing. I'm sorry, I forget his name. And I had it too. But that changes things because I feel like the Niners defense, when you actually look at it, they're actually not bad. They're middle of the road against the run, right? But they're not bad. They're not terrible. I don't love New England's run game.
Yeah.
Right now, the way it's looking. I love the way it looked week 1. If they can somehow tap into that, then I really like New England.
Yeah, New England's run game without a lead is sketchy.
Yeah, Cam, let's get back in the rhythm.
First game back, he had some of the he had to shape the Cowboys, but now, I mean, second game, looking to bounce back. What I'm looking at on the other side too is, look, this is the first time Jimmy G is coming back to New England to face a team that he played for. So just like Bridgewater going back to New Orleans, it wasn't his original team, but a team he had just come off. Do the Patriots have intel of how to stop this guy or what his weaknesses are?
I would say Bill Belichick, if anyone has him, is him.
Yeah.
What I'm looking at here, and maybe while this will reveal my pick, is because George Kittle was given the ultimate kiss of death this week by Bill Belichick. And I told you as soon as he said it, I said, bro, that's the worst thing that he could have heard.
Yeah.
That means Bill Belichick respects you and he's going to game plan you out. I'm telling you, don't be surprised if Kittle doesn't even get more than 3 catches.
Yeah. No, they're going to Darren Waller him up like they did to Darren Waller a couple of weeks.
And Kelsey.
They're going to put him in a box.
I think Kelsey had his worst game against the Patriots, didn't he?
Yeah.
Yes.
Nah, Case, what the Patriots do is they go out and they try to stop your best player.
Yeah.
Like they don't care if your best player is a fullback; they're stopping that fullback.
Yeah. Jerick McKinnon, the coach Shanahan's already said he's not going to use him the same way he did last time Mostert was hurt. So don't expect a lot of touches from McKinnon the same way that he did that one game where he handled like 95% of the touches. Jamaica Hasty or Lamicah Hasty, right? Or Jamaica.
Jamaica, I think it is.
Jamaica Hasty, he is a stud, man. I tried to have him. I couldn't keep him on my bench, but he's someone to look at. Debo and Brandon Ayuk, you love the way they're using them. They're almost like interchangeable with how you can use them because they can run so well. But I just feel like New England is gonna force it on Jimmy G's hands, and right now Jimmy G, the ankle's not healthy still. So I don't like Jimmy G going up against New England's defense, especially when you think of Kittle not even being part of it. So that's why
Corner's coming back, right? He's off COVID.
Yeah. Gilmore.
Gilmore, yeah. He didn't. Did he play last week, or he did play?
I think he played last week. Yeah.
But even then, I don't think that was the case why they lost. But look, I originally had San Francisco here. I've been swayed. I'm realizing that, damn, Kittle is their best weapon, and their best weapon is going to get taken out. How are they going to succeed?
Yeah, he looks bad with Kittle in there. So imagine without it.
Yeah, and New England coming off a loss, I don't think they're going to lose back-to-back games. They're doing anything and everything in their will to not lose. So I'm gonna ride with P here, and I'm going with New England as well.
A lot of Cam this game. This is going to be the exaggerated Cam game right here. So if you got Cam, you're going to love his performance in this game. This is going to be one of those ugly ones that he's going to steal like 3 touchdowns at the goal line or something.
Facts.
The next game is another division game, and Ryan called it, and I didn't really look at it until now. You know what? This could be a trap game. This is KC going against Denver.
Yeah, they got KC favored by 7.5, which is very, very low for an opponent like the Broncos, and they got the over/under at 45.5. So they're expecting a little bit of points here. The thing that scares me the most is I'm not worried about Patrick Mahomes. He's a stud. He's gonna do what he does, but the Denver defense is really good at not allowing points to their running back. So I can see CEH being held. I don't think Le'Veon Bell is expected to play this week. This is why I'm like, Patrick Mahomes is going to have to do a lot more this week, and he could. Kelsey's been on fire this year. Seems like nobody could stop him. Even against the Patriots, when they were trying to stop him, it only took him 3 catches to get 70 yards.
Yeah.
I mean, look, him and Mahomes are on target this year to just try to show people that Kelsey is the best tight end in the NFL. So,
yeah.
I like Denver. I just feel like I can't see how Denver, as much as I do think it's a trap, unless the defense scores and stuff like that, I don't trust Drew Lock. Still think he's too erratic. Like,
I know the reason I'm buying into that trap, even though it might not sway my pick, is KC last time they faced a division opponent lost.
Yeah.
And it was Las Vegas, who's coming off of a bad loss. So, these division games, we always like making sure we emphasize the fact that you never know what's going to happen when you're facing somebody twice a year. You know more about that team, right? Like, their game plans, their weaknesses. You already know certain tendencies and like how players like attacking you, and coaches like what their go-to plays are on third down, right? Like, you start noticing stuff like that. But that being said, there's no way I'm going to pick KC, even with no Sammy Watkins. There's no way I'm going to pick against KC. Sammy Watkins is out. Who cares? Plug in Robinson or Pringle or McCole, even if he's not there yet. The Denver's run defense is good, right? Like, that's something to look at. You mentioned the points against the running back. That's not by mistake, right? Like, so you really think about CEH in the game he had last week. I don't really know if you expect that in this one.
Yeah, no, you're not expecting that at all.
Yeah. Full cast for Denver. You got Hamler, Fant, Judy. So that's good news. You get to see what Drew Lock with Tim Patrick, who's, because of these injuries now, Tim Patrick looks like the number 1 in the bunch.
Yeah, he's at the forefront of that.
Yeah. So I got KC here. It is if Denver wins, do not be surprised.
Yeah, I wouldn't be shocked if Denver wins, but I'm just not gonna bet.
Yeah. Next game we got here is Jacksonville and the Los Angeles Chargers.
Yeah, the Chargers coming off a bye week. They're favored by 7.5 this week. Over under is 49. Man, how good is Justin Herbert?
He is. He is. I think he's more polished as a passer than Josh Allen when he came into the league.
He's a very mature. He makes plays like he's been in the league for 5 years.
Yeah.
And it's crazy because he has so much space to grow.
He has a lot of energy. You can tell he's trying to like gain the respect of his peers. You see that with him going over to players and like always talking to different people. You really like that. And I again, unfortunately, Tyrod, we knew this was gonna happen. I didn't know he was that type of talent. To me, Herbert looks like one of the best quarterbacks in this draft.
Yeah. And look, Tyrod, maybe you go to the team that's gonna go draft Trevor Lawrence, because then you can shape room him, and then you can go to another team, because that seems like that's what.
And there's no shame in having that role, man, because it looks like Tyrod.
Fitzpatrick's done it.
Yeah.
And what's his name?
It's a shame what happened to Fitz.
Yeah. We'll talk about that next week when the Dolphins come back off their bye. But
exactly.
On the other side, I mean, with the Chargers side, look, Jacksonville struggles against running backs. We saw with Swift and Adrian Peterson that the last week. Look, Justin Jackson and Joshua Kelly can both have great games. Chargers are favored here, so you're expecting them to be up and be able to run the ball. And we know that head coach, being the next running back, loves to run the ball, so he's going to emphasize that. I think the thing that's hurting the Chargers, as good as Herbert is they have to play in these competitive games and he's forced to make throws, and sometimes he just makes mistakes.
Yeah.
I think they're trying to limit mistakes.
Yeah. I think that one thing to really look at here is the Chargers' ability to close a game or to keep a lead. I don't know if they've shown that they can not keep you on the edge of your seat at the end of the game, right? I feel like they let every team they play get back in it. KC, they should have won that game.
Yeah, so maybe it wasn't just Phillip Rivers. Maybe it's just the team.
The team, yeah. So
you look
at that and you look at a team like Jacksonville's licking its wounds, and you think, this team is like going to be a laugher. You think about Fitzpatrick Jr. and how he's going to at some point you feel like he's going to turn it on, right, and play better.
Yeah.
Right. So
I was laughing at the Fitzpatrick Jr. joke.
Yeah. Minshew Mania, man, we're big on it. We haven't seen it this year, and the Chargers it's not impossible, right?
But the Chargers are a lot better than people think they are.
They're a good
the Chiefs to overtime both times and could have easily beat both of those teams. So Jacksonville better bring their best game if they're trying to beat this team.
Yeah, and
that's why I'm taking the Chargers, and I don't think Jacksonville has it in them.
I'm giving you a chance, Jax, but I don't see it.
Yeah, good luck.
The next game is this is the game.
This is the game of the week. They flexed this down to Sunday night, which originally wasn't. It's Seattle versus Arizona. This is probably the game that I'm most excited to watch. Seattle's favored by 3.5 right now, with an over/under of 54.5. Man, I think the question of the whole game is, can Kyler keep up with Russ?
Yeah. To me, 54 is the story of the game. Oh man,
a lot of points.
Yeah, but
we expected that.
Yeah. Russ versus Kyler. You're right. MVP versus MVP.
Yeah.
Carson. Yeah, Carson's back. Drake just had his best game of the year. Is this the Drake? Are we getting the Drake that we thought we were gonna get? Last time he played Seattle, he had a great game. Although Seattle's run defense this year has been the only highlight on that defense.
Yep. Now I can see both teams struggling to run the ball and it forcing to have Russ and Kyler just going back and forth. Yeah. Kyler's facing the weaker pass defense for sure. Arizona's pass defense has been pretty good. They got is it Buda Baker?
Yeah, Buda Baker.
He's a great safety. He makes plays all over the place. He's gonna be. They're gonna have somebody spying Russ for sure. But I like Hopkins and Christian Kirk this week. Even Isabella in like DFS and in 16-team leagues where you need to start people like that. Because the Seahawks do give up yards. Again, we always say they don't give up touchdowns, but they do give up yards. So, and Kyler's just been running. Is it just me, or you realize how much more he's just running this year? We thought that that was going to be a possibility in his rookie season, him being a running quarterback. But man, this year just took it to another level.
Yeah, a big story. Aside from Kyler running circles around people, because it's true he is running a lot more. Is the Seahawks did make a move. Low key, it might not help them this week, but it will help them in the future on defense. And they re-signed Michael Kendricks, which is a big piece that he had the legal issues. That's pretty the only reason why he's not in the NFL right now. But that's a pretty significant piece to add to that already nice linebacking core.
And he's familiar with the systems.
Yeah. And Jamaal Adams, who will solidify and kind of like shore up the secondary. He's still not playing with that groin injury. So that's another thing for Seattle that you can see in the horizon. As it pertains to this game, they're not going to have those pieces. So it is going to be a shootout. That being said, I'm going to take the vet, the grizzled veteran, the person who I think is going to win MVP this year. I'm going to take Russ to take this game.
Yeah, me too. I'm not playing around.
Yeah.
Russ Cook.
Yeah, and I still one of my favorite players in NFL, Carson, who for some reason I never draft in fantasy any year, but
because we don't ever have a chance to.
Yeah, it's like, when do we have a chance to? Will, but we both like. Let's move on to the next.
Last game of the slate. We got Monday Night Football.
Yeah, the 5-1 Chicago Bears.
Yeah,
the Rams, who just lost to the 49ers on Sunday Night Football. This is one where, it's interesting. It's interesting because the 5-1 Bears, that's surprising.
Yeah, they remind me of the Bucs real quick. And before we jump into the game, we got the Rams who are coming in favored by 6, and the over/under is at 44.5. Man, is Chicago surprising you?
Is everybody at 44.5 this week?
Just some of these good defenses. Seems like whoever's playing a good defense is at 45.
Yeah. Like Vegas just said, let's just copy and paste it.
COVID.
I see here I have written here a bounce back game for the Rams. Because to me, what you have to do is have your defense just stay on the same pace that the Bears defense stay in.
Yeah, why do you think the Bears are 5-1? Like, if nobody was watching football this year and they're like, dang, how are the Bears 5-1? How would you describe it? Why? What are the reasons?
I think it always boils down to their defense. Even when their defense wasn't playing well, they still played well enough.
Yeah, and now they don't have Mitchell Trubisky throwing the ball away every single week.
Yeah, so now Foles isn't going to turn the ball over.
Yeah.
So that's why they've maintained at this pace, and that's why we keep picking. Well, I'm picking against them, but that's why we keep picking against them, because the defense is getting better, and the offense is making less mistakes. So what they do is that they just tire you out. Whoever makes the first mistake first, or whoever makes the mistake first. I think that's the game they're playing, and Chicago's been winning that game. And Montgomery, you're forced to play him 3 downs, and he's showing you that he can be a 3-down back.
Yeah, no, he's been doing good. I think he's going to have a tougher test this week against the Rams with, obviously, Aaron Donald. The matchups I'm looking at are Allen Robinson versus Jalen Ramsey. Mm-hmm. I'm expecting A-Rob to be kept in check a little bit. But, again, people can score on Allen Robinson. I mean, on Jalen Ramsey. Mm-hmm. We saw Diggs do it. They are former teammates, so they do know each other very well. They used to practice against each other. So that's something to take into account. Maybe they have an edge over each other or whatever. And then Cooper Kupp and Woods, I'm tempering expectations because, man, this Bears defense is for real. It is very real. Goff, I'm not expecting a lot from him, and you'll see why I made my pick later as far as my bust of the week. But, man, Goff is in for a tough one.
Yeah, he is.
They're
Bears
going to have to run the ball a lot versus Chicago, and I don't even think that's possible.
Bears 224 passing yards allowed per game, and I'm sure that figure is dropping rapidly based on how they played in the beginning of the year, or how every defense played, right? The Rams are the Rams, where are they? The Rams pass defense is actually better. 209 yards a game. That's a full 20. That's pretty much 20 yards less.
Yeah, they've been good at stopping the pass. Their defense is good. I just feel like their offense sometimes gets very stagnant, and they can't.
Yeah. So the story here to me is Can the Rams run it enough? And Henderson has been solid. I like Henderson, man.
Yeah.
I was watching how he was playing last week, and I was like, you know what? Henderson might actually be the guy there. And that might be, they might actually have seen that in him and said, you know what, girlie, you can go.
Yeah. Yeah, they need one of those backs.
Another thing, I got a DFS play too here. Higbee is, I don't think he's playing.
Yep.
If Higbee doesn't play, Everett is an automatic play at DFS.
Yep, I agree.
Yeah. So that being said, I'm taking the Rams.
Yeah, for me, like I just trust the Bills defense. I trust the Bears defense a little bit more. And look, I don't know how the Rams lost to the Niners last week. I had picked the Rams.
It was a division game,
so maybe I'm snake bitten. But I just look, the Bears are 5-1 for a reason. I'm gonna just keep riding the Bears hot hand, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, and hey, you could easily be right on this one.
Yep.
So that's it. That wraps up the matchups.
Yep.
If you want to pick with us, or if you have picks in the past and you want to reveal what your record is compared to ours, comment section below, drop it, or shoot us an email at thefantasystandardtfs@gmail.com. Now though, let's go over to our stud, bust, and under the radar. Ryan, you can start it off.
I'll jump it off, man. I was very excited for this player all week, and of course he gets hurt on Thursday and just ruins it all. But I'm still excited for his counterparts in that backfield. I'm talking about Green Bay versus Houston. I think for the rest of the year, my stud is going to be the running back that plays Houston. Because, man, look, I was trying to get cute last week, and I didn't want to put Derrick Henry because I didn't want people to think that I was like riding him up because I have him on my fantasy team. But man, Houston can't stop the run to save their lives. Look, Jamaal Williams and AJ Dillon, if Aaron Jones doesn't play, which is likely that he doesn't, they're gonna destroy this team. They're gonna run the ball, like we said. Pete talked about earlier in the matchup. Green Bay's probably gonna temper Aaron Rodgers throwing, probably keep him at 25 and 30. I'm expecting at least over 100 total yards on the ground and 2 touchdowns from both running backs combined.
Yeah. For me, my stud, I talked about Matthew Stafford and the fact that they're going to have to run the ball this week against Atlanta, because we already know they're going to be able to pass it. So the reason I say all that is that the running game is going to be going good with Peterson and Swift. You're going to have Stafford with a play action with Kenny Galladay against that dreaded secondary that Atlanta has. You already know the numbers, the worst in everything. I don't even need to get any more specific than that. Kenny G, go get him, Kenny. 100 yards and 2 touchdowns. That's what I got for you this week.
Cool. Right with my buzz, man. Look, the same way that I pick against Houston when they play running backs, I'm picking against quarterbacks that play Chicago because, man, Chicago's pass defense is elite this year. They still have not, to this day, allowed 300 passing yards to a quarterback. They've only allowed 4 passing touchdowns in 6 weeks. Jared Goff, man, good luck this week. I don't see him doing much, and his receivers' expectations going to be tempered as well. I'm saying under 250 and a touchdown for him, and that's giving him a lot.
Yeah. So what you're saying is that for the Rams to compete, they're going to have to.
They have to run the ball.
They're going to need Akers to help out Henderson and Brown.
Yep.
So my bust is Amari Cooper. I have him facing the very underrated Fuller from Washington football team, cornerback. Look him up. He's a stud with KC. He's with Washington, and he's doing the same thing. I think, to me, he's a top 5 corner in the league, and he's not number 5. I just like the way he plays. I think that he can play as physical as Amari Cooper likes to play against some of these corners. You can't really do that against him. He actually welcomes that stuff. So he's stingy. You're not going to have time with Andy Dalton throwing the ball. So to me, you maybe more CeeDee Lamb or Gallup or even a Schultz than you would Amari Cooper in this one. I got him getting 45 yards, less than 45 yards, no touchdowns in this game.
Yeah. To finish this off, man, my under the radar pick, I mentioned it earlier. Again, I'm picking on Seattle. I'm picking on Seattle every single week when they play.
Yeah.
These receivers just know how to take advantage. And this week, Of course, we know DeAndre Hopkins, so he's not really under the radar. But Christian Kirk is somebody who, look, we saw him do it against Dallas last week on
With
minimal catches.
3 targets.
Yeah, on minimal catches, the man's went off. Look, if you look at the numbers that the Seahawks have given up to receivers over the last at the beginning of the season, they've allowed already 7 receiving touchdowns to receivers, over 100 yards, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different receivers in 6 weeks. Look, I'm not saying Christian Kirk is a must start, but don't be surprised when he has another big game and he puts up over 100 yards and a touchdown.
And actually something I heard last night that Seattle is actually even worse against the outside receiver. And Christian Kirk is lined up 71% of the times on the outside.
Yep, and he's finally healthy. And we know Kyler Murray has the arm to get it to him. So, and he's letting it go. He's playing against almost his pretty much what everybody compares him to. So,
yeah. And
it's the division game.
And for me, my under the radar is almost the same as your stud. I had the Green Bay's backfield. And you know, Houston literally allowed 1 million yards to Derrick Henry last week. I'm pretty sure that's exactly the number. You expect Aaron, to get Aaron Rodgers to get back to his winning ways. A heavy dose of Jamaal Williams, AJ Dillon, play action, Devontae Adams. That formula that LaFleur loves. I think combined 20 carries, 120 yards, and 2 touchdowns. And I have a bonus here for you. The Redskins backfield against Dallas. Dallas is that bad that I have the Redskins backfield. Washington football team backfield of McKissick and Gibson getting a combined, I'm going to say touches, not carries, because McKissick's value is in the passing game, and Gibson too. I'm going to say combined touches 25, yards 140, and I'm going to say 1 touchdown.
Mm-hmm. Hopefully it goes to McKissick.
Yeah, I was going to let you say it, but that's what I have for under the radar.
Nice. I like that. Well, to put a bow on this episode, man, week 7 is among us.
Mm-hmm.
I'm excited. There's a lot of great games. We got a great Sunday night football game. I can't wait to come back next week and talk about it and talk about these upcoming matchups. Man, look, if you've been following us throughout the season, like P said earlier, make sure you drop us a comment below and let us know who your favorite pick is this week, who your sleeper pick is this week. Who are you looking for in fantasy football? Send us an email, like P said as well, at thefantasystandard@gmail.com.
Mm-hmm.
And then reach out to us on Instagram if you have any specific questions. We'll be glad to help you if we can.
Mm-hmm.
And that's it, man. What you got, P?
Nah, man. Couldn't have said it better myself, man. Again, the Fantasy Standard, TFS@gmail.com. Hit us up. We're always willing to collaborate with anybody. If you like to know how to do this yourself for your own league, hit us up. Our Instagram and social media handles are right under us. Make sure if you're on a podcast platform that you hit follow. Then the next step is that you go down and write a review and tell them, yo, this is the best fantasy show ever. I mean, even if you don't mean it, because that way, at least people see that we actually know what we're doing. But we appreciate.
And if you're listening, we can thank you, man.
Yeah. We appreciate you sticking through this entire recap. We really do. Is there anything else, Rye?
No, that's it, man. Ready for some football.
Peace.
Peace out, guys.